Here's a creationist who claims to understand evolution, but nonetheless misrepresents Darwin.
One thing that Darwin lamented about was the way the fossil record looked, the patterns in the fossil record, because Darwin expected that evolution would happen gradually. Well, if that was the case, then the fossil record should show gradual evolutionary transformations. It should show a lot of transitional forms. But instead, what the fossil record in Darwin's day showed were that groups would appear suddenly without any kind of history preceding them in an evolutionary sense. And then they would remain unchanged or static before they would disappear from the fossil record. So that troubled Darwin.
No, it didn't. Darwin knew exactly why this was the case, and he explained it in Origin of Species. This guy either hasn't read The Origin of Species, hasn't read it very carefully, or is lying about what Darwin actually said. Darwin explained that the imperfection in the geological record largely results from the several formations being separated from each other by wide intervals of time. Geological layers are not continuous with one another. There are huge gaps of time between one layer and the next. Periods of fossil formation are often followed by long periods of erosion before the next layer of fossils is laid down. During these periods, lots of transitional fossils were washed away. Darwin says the frequent and great changes in the mineralogical composition of consecutive formations, generally implying great changes in the geography of the surrounding lands whence the sediment was derived, accord with the belief of vast intervals of time between each formation. The explanation, no doubt, is that the littoral and sublittoral deposits are continually worn away, as soon as they are brought up by the slow and gradual rising of the land within the grinding action of the coastal waves. Now, sometimes we see sudden appearances in the same layer. Darwin explained that as well. He said, when we see a species first appearing in the middle of any formation, it would be rash in the extreme to infer that it had not elsewhere previously existed. So again, when we find a species disappearing before the last layers have been deposited, it would be equally rash to suppose that it then became extinct. We may safely infer that with marine animals of all kinds, there has been a large amount of migration due to climatal and other changes. And when we see a species first appearing in any formation, the probability is that it only then first immigrated into that area. So the gaps in the fossil record do not necessarily mean that evolution skipped any steps or that there weren't gradual continuous transitions between life forms. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.